Joe, fun question before we start. Without giving any reason why, if you could have dinner with 3 comedians, dead or alive, who would they be? Go.
Bill Burr.
Yep.
Richard Pryor.
Yep.
And Bill Cosby.
Love it.
What's funny, mate?
Come on, Bill Cosby.
What's wrong with Bill Cosby?
No, nothing's wrong with Bill Cosby. He's great.
I know, but because he did what he did,
I know.
you can't say Bill Cosby. I'm like Bill Cosby without the Rohypnol. That's right. I think it was when I was at uni. We'd go to parties, uni parties, and I had this knack for telling jokes. I used to imitate the lecturers, and that's when I kind of thought, yeah. Now maybe early. I mean, I didn't realise it then. When I was young, I used to have all these observations, and like, you know, my name's Giuseppe, really, you know, and I could never find a mug with my name on it, you know, and I go, why is that, you know? And I would have those kind of observations, but I didn't realise that was comedy, you know, as a kid. It was later on that I started to realise when you can tell jokes and how you can tell jokes. The way to tell them, like someone yell out a punchline and say, I do the joke about the steps, but then of course you do the joke. And because they just heard the word steps, then you do the joke with the word steps and it doesn't work. So then you realise then, oh, you know, you got to leave that gag, do a few other gags when people have forgotten about the steps, then bring in that gag. So it was all that, the intricacies of telling a joke which made me fall in love with it. So when I first started in the mid-90s, there was no social media, right? So the way that you got known is you had to do stage time. You had to do working at the Comedy Store. You go to Melbourne, you had to do the comedy festivals, you had to do the small rooms. And the only way you would really get known back in those days was, hey, it's Saturday, the midday show, and maybe a morning breakfast show. It wasn't like it is now. It is so much easier now to become famous doing this. You know, yeah, okay, you can be really good online. That doesn't necessarily mean you're good on stage. And there are some people who are really good online who bring it on stage, but you can tell. You can tell that they're green because you need hours. Like when you talk to a pilot, you don't say, how many years have you been flying? How many hours have you been flying? And it's the same with a comedian. How many hours have you been on that stage, mate? I've got an honours degree in food science. So what happened was I wanted to be a rock star. My dad said, there's no rock stars in Calabria where we come from. Go and do something else. So I liked food, I liked science, so I studied food science. Then I won an honours scholarship, and that's when I started doing comedy, right? And then I worked for Streets Ice Cream and helped bring the Magnum ice cream here to Australia. I was on the team that did that. And so that was my claim to fame. I even had a TV show about food. I was a host. I was one of the 2 anchors on the food show. It was called Food Investigators. But no, that wasn't ever a backup plan. That was the plan. Comedy was a hobby that just took off. So it came to the point where, okay, now I'm earning as much in a night that I would in a year doing food science. So time to give it up. There was a period where fame did change me, around about 2004, because it just really went nuts then all over the world. You know, I'd walk in clubs with sunglasses on, thought I was Kanye West, you know. I don't know who I thought I was really. It was 5 minutes, you know. I've been doing this 27 years. It was a very short period of time. You know, some of my friends were like, yeah, there was a period where we couldn't talk to you. But here's the thing, overnight fame creates ego. Long fame creates character. Because the way that it happened for me, it started a little bit of fame. So it wasn't just overnight. Like I started to become popular amongst the Italian community in Sydney. Then it blew out to Melbourne, then around Australia, then around the world, then into America, then into Europe. So it kind of happened gradually. Whereas today, I think a lot of kids who become famous online all over the world, and you see it, their egos are out of control. Yeah, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but you know what it is? It's a culmination of everyone's life. You know, so the mum in my show wasn't my mum. My mum was my Mariana, you know her, you know, my dad's sister, okay? So the grandfather character was my dad's dad if he spoke English, but he didn't speak English, but my other grandfather spoke English. So it's a culmination of a whole bunch of characters. And if it didn't happen to me, it certainly happened to someone next door, right? So if I didn't feel it personally, I felt it through somebody else. So, you know, I wasn't too far away from what I'm talking about. In Adelaide, there was this guy who was an Australian guy married into an Italian family. And he goes, mate, the first time I went to do the visits to the Italian family, he goes, I got drunk. He goes, and that was just on the salad, right? What a great line. And so then I used it and adopted it And I just said, oh, you know, the first time my friend Darren came to my house, he got drunk and that was just on the salad. But really it happened to this guy. And, you know, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of it, you know, but it could be 5-10% of my shtick might be something that somebody's given me. So I always make sure that when someone goes, oh, you know, I've got to tell you a story, I always listen, and I always listen attentively, because, I mean, look, most of the time it's just, yeah, I've heard it before. It's so funny how also people told me stuff that's actually my routines. Like, okay, mate, do you know that came from me? You know, and because it could have been so long, you know, and also because there's other acts that take, borrow, steal, whatever you want, my stand-up and make videos and stuff of it. People see it in a different way, and they don't realise that's where it comes from. So Joe Avati in the next 5 to 10 years will be doing a lot more stand-up overseas because the markets have really started to break down the barriers in Europe for me, and also in America. I mean, Australia and Canada were saturated, so I'll still be touring those countries, but now I'll be touring and kids will come in. But in America and in Europe, it's growing rapidly for me. And also the demographic is changing. So I'm getting a lot of people who are non-ethnic coming to the show. It's very prominent now. And so I will then be designing shows to cater for that. That's where I'll be. And hopefully on the beach, you know, with a pina colada. Well, not pina colada. Why did I even say pina colada? That is an awful drink.